Good evening. My name is Sandra Craig, and I represent the Etiquette Foundation of Illinois. You are watching a live interactive call in television program brought to you on CAN TV 21. Let's talk etiquette. During the next 25 minutes, my very special co host will be none other than Mr. Nathan Wright.
Thank you again. Oh, I'm excited. We're here together again.
Yes, yes,
It's a
yes,
pleasure,
yes.
believe me. Thank you so
There's a
much.
song called We're Together Again.
Yes. I
But I
can't
won't dare try to
sing.
sing it. Okay, viewers, I want you to call in today. We have a dynamic topic for you today: the social, moral, and ethical necessity to etiquette train students attending economically disadvantaged Chicago public schools. Why is it a necessity? I know you have comments and questions and concerns about this topic, and I want to hear from you. You can call us at area code 312 738 1060. Again, 312 738 1060. Our phone lines are now open.
Wow.
Yes.
What a show topic.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
that's
yes.
a mouthful.
Yes,
Yes.
and it's is it true or not true? We'll find out, right?
I definitely think it's a necessity.
Okay. Well, Mr. Wright, you have stated Chicago public schools are economically disadvantaged. Would you explain why you feel that way?
I think not all of Chicago public schools are economically disadvantaged, but there are quite a few that are economically disadvantaged, and that's because the community that these schools reside in are economically disadvantaged communities. In other words, an overwhelming majority of the people there are either on low income, fixed income, uh, on government assistance, or on some type of program that will allow them to not be in dire poverty. And so these particular schools are in what we call disadvantaged communities.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, CPS seem to not be able to provide a quality education for these young people. And I think that is the tragedy of Chicago public schools in this city and at this time.
I unfortunately I agree with you, Mr. Wright. I believe we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, how y'all guys doing? This
Hey,
is Steve.
Steve.
I've been waiting for y'all to come on all this week.
Oh
I
well.
mean, since the beginning of the week.
Oh, thank
You
you,
know, through
thank
y'all
you.
guys, I have really kind to change my thoughts and things around. If you remember right, I even said I ain't gave up. Y'all was talking about smoking marijuana. And I remember that show, and I called up and I said, you know what? I've been thinking about this so long because of y'all guys. There was a stock, and I don't even want to mention the stock anymore. And I told you I'm going to give it up. I said it's about to come very big again because Illinois was going to pass the law, and it shot up really nice. So if people had this stock maybe 3 or 4 years ago, you came along with a pretty piece of penny. And I could have got that piece of penny. But you know what? I'm not a rich man, and I'm not a poor man. But I'm okay. I'm okay. I pay my bills, and it's all right with me. But the thought of me being part of that made my thought pattern change, because let me tell you, we live in the city of Chicago, and people that don't need that will get it. And, just as well as like people walking around with guns, well, some of those people that could be walking around with guns now could walk around smoking some reefer and whatnot. And there's a lot of people that's going to make some money from it. So, again, sometimes, there you go, the moral ethics of things. Money don't mean a lot. You could be poor and still have pride and ethics about what you do. And this is what we need to teach to people. I mean, it's not about money all the time. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, you sound like he's a rich man. Well, you can say anything you want. It doesn't make real difference whether you're rich or poor. Even people destituted have a little pride about themselves regardless of what. So, again, it's going out for a little, but
He's right.
it's because of y'all two.
Thank you.
Seriously. And
Thank
I
you.
mean, it was along the subject. We talked about that
Yes, we
that year.
did.
And if you remember, I said, you know what? As of today, I am dropping that stock. But I knew it was coming. I knew it was
Okay.
coming. But anyway, I had to say thank y'all.
Great.
I've been waiting, but I also wanted to tell you, I told you so.
You did.
But
You
anyway,
did.
listen, good show. Let me
You
get out
did. You
there and
did.
hear your
You
response.
did. You
And
did.
again, thank you for helping this crazy old man out.
Yeah.
Thank
Great,
you.
great, great, great question. In fact, Steve did talk about that with us. And he's right. What he's referring to is they've made marijuana legal for medical reasons. So if you
Yes.
had stock in that company when it was little or nothing, your stock shot up 10 times, 20 times what it was worth only a few days ago. So he predicted that, and he called that just right. Yeah, you're right on that, Steve. You said it. You called it. And I agree.
Yes. We have another caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
All
I
right.
wonder, what did y'all think about George Zimmerman had gotten in Texas? And why they let him go again? The Texas police, when he got pulled up, y'all doing a good job.
Thank you. Thank you. You were saying something about that.
Well, yes, I understand that
yeah.
Mr. Zimmerman was driving. He was actually speeding,
Okay.
and the police pulled him over, and he told him he had a weapon in the glove compartment,
Okay.
and they let him go with a warning.
Well, I guess they recognized who he was too, and so that may have had some impact on whether they decided to give him a pass or not. But I'm sure he wasn't confrontational with them as
No.
he was with Trayvon Martin.
Good point, Mr. Wright.
They had a weapon, right?
Right.
Trayvon didn't.
Oh wow, Mr. Wright. Yes. You know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. And they did have the law on their side. They are the law. They had weapons. But I wonder why he keeps popping up in the news. Myself.
He's
I mean,
popular.
well, I mean, I know, of course, the crime that he committed, but I'm talking about. He was supposed to have saved a family from an accident. And they were supposed to, give a testimony about what he did for them. And now he's let go by the police for speeding. So I don't know. I guess we haven't heard the last of George Zimmerman. That's all I can
That's
conclude.
apparently.
Mr. Wright, CPS has closed a number of schools. Do you believe the system will provide a better education and more opportunities? That is one of the reasons CPS has said they closed the schools, to give the students more opportunities, a better education. They're going to have smaller classroom sizes, and things are going to be better. I'd just like to know how you view that.
I'm unfortunately, we've heard this story before, going back to Vallis, going back to Duncan, going back to Huberman, and of course now we hear the same story. It's like a play. You keep coming back with the same play and the same story year in and year out. And children who started in kindergarten back with Vallis are now out on the streets, unemployed or low employed. And we heard this from Vallis going back 12, 14, 15 years ago. If you've been around Chicago, you should remember that was the same thing they were saying back then, that they're going to have a solution. They're going to solve the problem. We need to teach manners and morals. That should be the number one curriculum in our schools today. And I think you have some overheads there that kind of indicate what has happened with our children in our schools and what is the outcome from that education that we receive. And as you well know, Sandra, there it is right there. It's up there.
99% of all violent and nonviolent crimes committed in Chicago were committed by present or former Chicago public school students. 87% of Chicago public school students born in poverty will remain in poverty for their entire lives. Not a good record for the public education in the city of Chicago.
99%.
That's a lot.
That's nearly all of us. And so when you have a school that has that kind of failings, where children born in poverty who are educated in that system remain in poverty for the duration of their lives. And their children is repeated with their children, and it's repeated with their children. And you can go back in time or right up to the present, and you'll see the same data. And that's the sad part about it. So I don't have a lot of confidence unless the mayor adds manners and morals to the curriculum so that our children will learn how to behave and be self-disciplined. That's how you succeed in this society. That's what a real education is about. Understanding how to conduct yourself as a citizen, as a human being. And of course, morals are very important ethically. Have good character. Understand what it is to be moral in terms of your ethics. And so, if that's not being taught, then what are we doing?
I agree, Mr. Wright. And a social education is just as important as an academic education.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would say it's the center of your humanity.
Yes.
And all other disciplines come out of that humanity. Mathematics, science, reading and writing, all of those other disciplines. Once you understand the rules of social behavior, you can then understand the rules of math. 2 + 2 = 4. Why is that? It's a logical conclusion, a logical answer. And so once you understand why it's important to be polite, to be considerate of others, then you understand what it is to be a human being.
Yes.
And so all the other disciplines come after that. So the foundation of who you are as a human being, a civilized human being, is first and foremost. So that's what should be number one on the curriculum. And as you all know, the Etiquette Foundation of Illinois has been advocating for 1 hour each school day, 1 hour of manners and morals teaching for the 12 years of a person's education, public education, and we will not have the crime that we're experiencing today. We just wouldn't have it.
You're right, Mr. Wright. I totally agree. A social education is so important, I tell my students, because there is never going to be a time in your life that you're not going to have to interact with other people.
That's true.
You're going to always have to interact with other people, and you're going to have to know how to get along in your career, on your job, in your family, in your community. That's going to be important. And if we're not teaching them, then we're really doing them a disservice.
Absolutely. I agree.
I believe we have a caller. Caller, you on the air.
You want to hear the truth? You want to hear the truth? This is the problem, okay? One of the problems, what do you expect when you have 40% of Chicago public school teachers that have children, they send their own children to private school? Look at the firemen. Look at the police officers. The problem is we look back and we see at Chicago public school the only place where children can be educated. Heck, when you got to do all that marching, go to those meetings, whatever, heck, sell the candy, sell the raffle tickets, whatever, to keep the tuition down low and all that. You get what you put into it. And I'm so tired. I'm not one of those people willing for my property taxes to go up any much more higher. You may not like me saying that's the way I feel, whatever. And you talking about reefer stuff, a lot of them don't have education on their mind. They're too busy in the alley somewhere smoking reefer to have education on their mind.
Okay, interesting.
Very. No comment. I believe we have another caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
This is a suggestion. The public school system, why not look for an alternative? If you could get the churches in those areas involved, and maybe some of these youngsters would be open to the idea of going, to the church group. I mean, it's not a popular idea, and get some etiquette training there, because face it, the public school system is so bogged down with issues like unions that the kids end up kind of like being pawns in a chess game. They really are. And if they could spend an hour or 2 hours at a local church, and there might be 4 or 5 churches in any given area that's referred to as disadvantaged or advantaged. I mean, if you get the churches involved and some of the pastors, some of the priests, whatever, ministers, get them involved in it, and perhaps, again, it's an alternative because anytime there's politics involved in something and unions involved in something, things will move at a snail's pace. And not all these kids are bad. They just need direction from some adults that they can relate to. And oftentimes there's so many other things going on within the public school system. They're just not going to get that, and it gets put on the back burner and the back burner and the back burner year after year after year. So perhaps you could, get a map of your local churches in certain areas drawn up with some phone numbers to show your audience and to say, here are some people within this church community who might be willing to spend an hour on such and such a night a week giving some etiquette training. It could pay big dividends. They could meet people there that could get them jobs. Who knows what could happen? So good luck to you, because I appreciate what you say about, we live in a civilized society, and you do have to conduct yourself as well as you can. If you can't conduct yourself in an entirely professional manner, at least you can listen and learn. Mm-hmm. So good luck and God bless.
Thank you.
Good call.
Yes.
And we have reached out to churches, and many churches have responded to this call. But unfortunately, the downside to that is to getting those volunteers in those churches to step up and take the training. We compare with the training is so important, because if you don't really know how to teach this subject, it can be mistaught. Miseducation. We see it all the time with people who volunteer to do something as simple as table manners, and really don't know how to set a table. So if you're teaching a child to set a table and you put the glasses on the left-hand side of the plate, are you doing that child a service and attempting? I know your desires are honorable and you want to teach, but if you're not teaching them the correct way to do a table setting, then unfortunately it's not going to be good in the long run for them to have that miseducation. But as far as back to the schools, we're not going to, at least we don't want to give the schools a pass on this subject, because if the mayor can have midnight basketball and these other kind of activities, sports in the schools, then who benefits from sports? We spend millions of dollars on sports. And who benefit? A few kids. And that's good. I'm happy for those few kids. But the same money could be used, or even a portion of that money could be used to teach manners to all of the children. As opposed to just a handful. And yes, we even tried to do some civility training for the schools who were in the incident a few years back. And we was turned down. They didn't even want us to come and teach sports etiquette to the children. So we're not getting a great deal of support from the public schools as of this day.
I know. And, I'm not against basketball. I'm not against sports. But I would just like to say etiquette is a life lesson. Basketball is not a life lesson.
That is so true. This is something you use every day.
And you're going to use for the rest of your life.
Right.
So I would count that pretty important.
Very important.
I believe we have another caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening to both of you.
Good evening.
The last caller had a great, first of all, let me say that I enjoy your program, and I enjoy the spirit and the way you guys present yourself. It has a calming effect, and the love that you have, it really comes through.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
No problem. Now, the last caller had a good soul and a spirit and seemed very supportive and was solutions-oriented. But the caller before him, his name is Joe, and when he made that terrible comment, and the lady, you said, well, no comment, please allow me to address that.
Okay.
That gentleman once said that all of the children in the Chicago public school system, in his words, smelled like pee. Now, obviously, his last statement saying that they all smoke marijuana in the alley. This is a gentleman that is so imbued with self-hatred, that has such a low self-esteem, that he can only look out at the world and have a a negative opinion, a negative outlook. He's far from being solutions oriented. I just want to say on behalf of the children of the Chicago public school system, it's an absolute fallacy to say that all of them smoke marijuana in the alley. So I just want to remain supportive, but it's the comments that really indicate who we are inside actually drive our efforts in the world. And I would be certainly it's fair to say that caller doesn't have any good deeds behind his actions to change the problem. He can only sit back and throw stones at it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Good call. Good call. Yes, it was.
I can also say, too, that all of the children in the Chicago public schools do not smoke marijuana. I work in Chicago public schools when I'm given the opportunity. And there are some very good students there.
Excellent.
And I love working with them. I just wish that I had more opportunities to do so.
Yes, I agree.
I believe we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, greetings.
Greetings.
First of all, I would like to address two of the comments that were made. One, based on the education, the way to, in my opinion, to address the educational system is to boycott the lottery, because with the information that I received is that the proceeds, a certain amount of the proceeds of the lottery is supposed to go to work hand in hand with the education, the public education system. Second of all, you are born as an infant to communicate, but you're taught how to effectively communicate. Mm-hmm. And so you can be a part of the society. And if the Chicago public school is not teaching the children, then they won't be, all they will be able to do is speak up, but they won't be able to speak up and to speak out and assimilate if they don't know how to communicate their thoughts and their concerns. That's just my personal opinion.
Yes.
So I'm going to leave you all with that, and you all travel in peace.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I agree with the caller, because we are in the schools. We see it every day. We talk to high school students, some of them who are seniors, and they are still using poor grammar.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're giving this person a diploma, saying that they have completed 12 years of education, and they're not even close to mastering the language and having good, language skills. So how are they going to be effective out here in the society when they don't use the language? It's sad. It's really sad to see.
And I agree, and I agree with the caller, the last caller. He said that all of our children are not bad, and of course we know that.
Absolutely.
They just don't know. We have adults who probably could use some etiquette classes or some parenting classes. It's not that they're just bad parents. They just don't know.
They don't know.
And we, as a community, as elders, as teachers, we need to step up and help them and give as much help as we possibly can. And there's people in our neighborhood, in our communities, and our families that could benefit from that. So I agree with not throwing the stones, but
right.
Pushing up the sleeves and getting in there and seeing what you can do to help.
Yes. It's like teaching math. You really have to go to school to learn to be a math teacher. I mean, it's just common sense. And as far as the caller who called about the churches, where are our pastors? They know of this subject. We've reached out to them, and we've gotten no responses from them. And the ones you see on TV, the ones you see marching, talking about they are looking for a solution. We have to stop the violence. We said we have a solution. It's education. It's teaching etiquette. And if they would do that, then perhaps we could stop some of the violence that's in the community.
Teach them how to get along with one another. Teach them self-respect, respect for themselves and those that they live with and around. Absolutely. Respect is very, very important. We cannot educate anybody and say we've educated them and leave out respect for one another and for themselves.
Absolutely. Agree with you 100%.
Well, Mr. Wright, I had another question, but unfortunately I'll have to hold it till next week.
Yes. Well, we'll take this subject up again. This is not the end of this one. This is only part one.
Okay. Well,
yes.
Thank you again for being my very special co-host.
And I appreciate you inviting me to be here, and I've enjoyed it.
Me too.
Yes.
To our viewers and callers, I want to say thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Etiquette. I appreciate you. I look forward to hearing from you every Friday. I just ask that you would call a friend, a neighbor, and tell them to tune in to Let's Talk Etiquette. Look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and pass on civility. Good night.
Goodbye.